Even the most seasoned analysts didn't see this coming. India, a nation Washington had until recently counted on as a key partner and a counterweight to China and Asia, is suddenly changing course. And this isn't just a subtle shift. It's a move aimed squarely against the United States. Donald Trump, convinced that sharply raising tariffs would pressure New Delhi into playing by Washington's rules, may have misread just how much the balance of power has changed, not just in Asia, but in the global economy as a whole. The first hints of trouble surfaced in reports from the Economic Times of India and Britain's Financial Times. Citing senior officials and business insiders, both outlets revealed that New Delhi is weighing the possibility of freezing major US corporate projects in the country. At the top of that list, Apple, the very symbol of American tech dominance. For Washington, this is a gut punch. In recent years, India had become Apple's primary escape route from China, as the company sought to diversify its manufacturing base. It's worth remembering how that shift began. After decades of working hand-in-hand with China's Foxconn factories, Apple found itself facing mounting risks, worsening US-China tensions, trade wars, sanctions, rising nationalism, and increasingly restrictive tech laws. For a company worth nearly $3 trillion, Beijing was starting to look like an unreliable partner. So Cupertino went searching for an alternative and found one in India. The logic was hard to ignore. First, India is one of the largest and fastest-growing smartphone markets on the planet, home to more than 1.4 billion people, with hundreds of millions just entering the premium consumer bracket. Second, the government rolled out generous tax breaks and subsidies to lure foreign investors. And third, the political angle. Washington saw New Delhi as a strategic ally capable of counterbalancing China's growing influence. Apple's move seemed like a win for everyone. Billions of dollars in investment, tens of thousands of jobs created in India, and a stronger US-India partnership. But now, that once promising alliance is showing cracks. Apple's big bet on India wasn't just about diversifying its supply chain. It also quietly boosted US influence in the region. But now, that carefully crafted strategy could be turning against Washington. According to Bloomberg, citing sources inside India's Ministry of Commerce, New Delhi is considering not only halting plans for new Apple factories, but also freezing production lines already under construction. It's a dramatic move, essentially threatening to choke off one of the world's most profitable companies. And it's being done openly, as a direct response to Donald Trump's tariff policy. Trump went all in. His latest order slapped additional tariffs on a wide range of Indian exports, from textiles to pharmaceuticals. Officially, it was about protecting American jobs. In India, though, it landed as a public humiliation. The Hindustan Times, quoting government insiders, put it bluntly, Washington has underestimated how much India has changed. If before the country had no choice but to listen to the US, today it has its own levers of pressure. And those levers are not only economic. One of those levers, perhaps the most alarming for US diplomats, is China. Just yesterday, Trump was telling voters he could play New Delhi against Beijing, exploiting their long-standing rivalry. But the ground is shifting. The South China Morning Post reports that Chinese and Indian delegations have quietly met several times in Dubai and Jakarta in recent months. On the table, joint energy projects, settling trade in their own currencies, and even coordinating positions for the upcoming BRICS summit. If these talks bear fruit, Washington could lose far more than a lucrative export market. Losing India would mean losing the very counterweight to China that US strategy has relied on, a potential diplomatic disaster. Western media aren't mincing words. The Guardian calls it a geopolitical earthquake, warning that Trump is driving India straight into China's arms. Foreign affairs is equally stark. Washington underestimated the rise of India's influence. The country is no longer a junior partner and is increasingly acting as an independent power center. For Apple, the stakes are enormous. Counterpoint Research estimates that by 2027, nearly a quarter of all iPhones worldwide were supposed to be assembled in India. Already, the iPhone 12, 13 and 14 roll off production lines there, with future flagship models in the pipeline. Foxconn, Pegatron and Wistron factories in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka are running at full tilt. Billions have been invested, contracts signed, tens of thousands of workers employed, and now all of it could be put on ice. In short, New Delhi's move threatens to hit not just Apple, but the US economy itself. To the world, the optics are striking. The largest democracy on the planet, long seen as a strategic American ally, suddenly stepping into open confrontation with Washington. So what happens next? According to Reuters, the White House is scrambling to prepare retaliatory measures. On the table, restricting Indian IT firms' access to the US market and tightening visa rules for Indian tech specialists. But here's the catch. Such steps would hurt America too. Indian engineers are the backbone of Silicon Valley, driving innovation at Google, Microsoft, and countless startups. Meanwhile, New Delhi's rhetoric is growing bolder. The picture is unmistakable. India, once a key piece in America's Asia strategy against China, is emerging as an independent power willing to challenge Washington head-on. If this shift solidifies, the fallout could be massive. From a crisis at Apple and tremors in US stock markets to a fundamental reshaping of the global order. Analysts at Germany's Handelsblatt warn that Trump may end up dismantling a strategy that took decades for US presidents to build. In Asia, America could be left with only Japan and South Korea, while India, instead of containing China, might start working alongside it. That would mark Trump's most significant foreign policy defeat, because losing India means losing influence in the very region where the 21st century's balance of power will be decided. The deeper shift is even more telling. For the first time, India is signaling that it's ready to wield its economic power not just for domestic growth, but as a deliberate tool of foreign policy pressure. That changes the rules of the game, and the timing is no accident. India is about to host the BRICS Plus summit, where, according to Financial Express, it could announce a new settlement system in rupees and yuan for major energy deals. For Trump, that would be a shock. The US dollar has long been one of Washington's most potent levers of influence. But if New Delhi and Beijing move forward, that leverage weakens. In effect, Washington's own actions are pushing India closer to the very forces it seeks to counter. Trump's tariffs were meant to punish New Delhi, but instead they've handed Indian leaders a rallying cry they haven't had in decades. We are strong, we are independent, and we can say no to the United States. That message has become both a slogan for India's elite and a point of national pride. And now, some analysts are asking whether America is repeating its biggest strategic miscalculation with China, assuming that deeper economic ties would ensure loyalty. Back then, Beijing became America's top competitor. Today, the same pattern may be emerging with India. If so, this could be the defining legacy of the Trump era, a world where the United States not only loses key allies, but also loses the ability to set the rules of the game. Alright, that's a wrap for today's video. If you enjoyed hanging out, hit that like button. It really helps more than you think. And if you want to stick around for more, make sure you're subscribed and have the bell on so you don't miss what's coming next. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.